Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Stitch Happens Malta and I'm Bernadette. And as promised in my all the tools you need for cross stitch for beginners, this is a sort of stitch with me tutorial. Basically, I'm going to walk with you how to start a kitted up cross stitch pattern, how to start actual cross stitching. Now, thank you for all the returning subscribers, and if you're new, I would appreciate if you would subscribe and maybe put a like. I would appreciate as well if you have any comments or questions to put them down in the description box, and I will promise you I will reply to you. So, as I explained a little bit in the previous video of the what tools you need to cross stitch, I will put the link to that video somewhere here or in the description box. You'll find it there. You first have to start by deciding on what count you're going to cross stitch. So I'm using the most popular count, which is the 14 count, and in my opinion it's one of the easiest counts, and it promises an easy stitch when it's 14 count, in my humble opinion. Now there are other ideas, other opinions. I'm not saying that this is what it should be. It varies from person to person. There is no such rule as which is best or better to stitch on. For me personally, 14 and 16 count are probably my favorites. Now, when you go and buy a kit like this I found from a thrift shop. I was very happy with it. First of all, because it was obviously heavily discounted, and secondly, because we have a panorama of the Sydney Opera House, for which I have a very close connection because I'm actually Australian, born in Australia, but I live in Malta, and I returned to see my beautiful home country last year. It was the first time because I left Australia when I was only 3 years old, so I didn't remember any of it, and it was fantastic, to say the least. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get to the how to start your kit, your cross stitching on a kit. Now, usually what you get is obviously you're gonna see on the outside what the count is of the pattern and of the Aida. Also, obviously, you're gonna have the picture on the front of what you're going to be cross stitching, and somewhere it should also tell you the size of the finished, and here it tells you worked on Zweigart fabric, which is one of the best fabrics in my opinion. It's a German company that makes Aida fabric mostly. Not just Aida, but I get the Aida from there. Using DMC stranded cottons, DMC being the most famous floss or thread as described earlier. And here it tells you the approximate design size. So this is an 11 by 31 centimeters or 4.5 inches by 12 inches. Now, usually when it says this, it means the actual stitched design. So you don't have to worry about how much material you need to leave at the border of a design because this is a kitted one. So this has all been prepared for you. But that means that is referring to the filled in portion you will be stitching on. Now this, I understand from the picture, is a full coverage. So it's not an easy stitch, but basically I don't think it matters that I will be showing you this because same concepts refer everywhere, it doesn't matter. So let's start by opening this kit, and I will walk you through. I haven't opened this yet, so I'm opening it here with you. So as you can see here, you get your floss, and as you can see, these are very, very beautiful, beautiful colors. One thing I am noticing is I am not very keen because the threads look pretty. Oh no, they're folded. Okay, that's all right. Because at first I was thinking these are very short threads, but that's fine. So here you have the colors, okay, and the relevant color number. Now, what I don't see is the symbol that will be allocated to each number, because you're supposed to have a symbol next to it. So that we'll have to do together, or I'll do it offline and then we continue. So this will vary with every kit, but usually, most of the time, you will have the symbol. I will explain what I mean by symbol. And maybe I didn't say it earlier, this is a kit by Heritage Stitchcraft. Okay, now we go to the pattern. This is a paper pattern, obviously, and to the material. Okay, sorry about the... Okay, let's put that away. So that is the Aida. Give you a good idea. And there, as you can see, is a pretty big piece, because this is the finished design, as we said, is 31 centimeters, so it's pretty long, but it's not high. It's only 11 centimeters high, so that's fine. I'm not noticing that we have a needle in this kit either, which usually you would have attached to the fabric. I don't see a needle. That's okay, I have plenty needles. Here you have the actual instructions. So you do have instructions usually with your kits. And also sometimes you'll have an explanation of the actual, what you're going to be doing. Now it seems like this kit has several stitches, because it's explaining that you've got fractional stitches, quarter stitches, and the outline, which would be the back stitch. But don't worry too much about that. We shall go into it later if needs be. Okay, and then we get to the pattern. Now I cannot show you the full pattern, but basically what I mean by pattern is where you have, as you can see, look at this one. So you've got triangles, you've got like these little hearts here, and they refer to a particular color as indicated here, as they should be indicated. So perhaps the triangle is this color, but we don't know yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the... Okay, I will find it and I will come back to you. So I have found the page where it tells you the symbol and the number. So the symbol, let's say this one, which says, let me zoom in a little bit. It says 300, that symbol. We look for the color 300, which is this one. So what I'm going to do to make my life easier is that I'm going to put these symbols next to these colors, next to them. I will draw them so that it will make my life easier as I stitch. And also I will be opening these up and not leaving them folded, because that doesn't help me. And also although the instructions were mentioning quarter stitches and all that, it's just for your basic knowledge for cross stitch, because when I looked into the whole pattern, it shows you that you have the full cross stitch. So it tells you cross stitch using 2 strands of one color. So that's the usual way we cross stitch, using 2 strands. And you still use the loop start system as explained in my loop start tutorial. You just pick one strand and you fold it. I will be showing that again during this video. And it also tells me that this pattern uses cross stitch using 1 strand of each of 2 colors, which usually we explain that as blended colors. So basically, wherever you see that sign, let me zoom, whenever you see that sign, which is a black circle in this case, you have to take 1 strand of the 300 and 1 strand of the 791, in which case I cannot start with a loop system. So hopefully, not hopefully, I will not start with a blended stitch, so that I can definitely start with the loop start. So let me go off and mark these up and I will be back. So here we are. I have marked up the symbols to the numbers, so that like that I don't get confused. And it's important that you do this at the beginning of the before you actually start stitching it, and this will you will save time, and it will definitely help you stitch faster like this when you have them all marked up and nicely ready for you. The threads are ready for you to start stitching. Now, the next thing we need to do is to find the middle of your project. Now, sometimes there are people that start from the upper left corner or the bottom left corner, but I prefer to start from the middle. Reason being is that when you do so, there is less chance that you make a mistake and you will end up having moved the whole project, even sometimes out of the Aida size. So say this picture is 15 centimeters by 15 centimeters, and by mistake you would have not left enough gap on one side, getting the whole project out of the actual material. So to avoid all that confusion, I suggest that you find the middle of your project. So all you need to do is just fold it 1/2, and you press it a little bit with your fingers, like so, and fold it one more time so that you will be able to find the middle of that material. Now, once you've done that, you open it up again, and we can see that approximately the middle is somewhere here. I'm getting my needle so that I mark it up there. Let me check myself and make sure. Yes, that's right. And that's correct. Okay. So we found our middle. Now, another important thing to do, which I always do, is grab a pen, and at the upper left corner, you just put in a little bit of an arrow directing upwards, so that you know that your project is facing like this. And you won't be confused. Because when you start a project, you won't know if this is the right way or this is the right way. you won't know. So that is very important to mark up your Aida fabric with a little arrow at the side. It doesn't matter because that will be hidden away eventually. It doesn't matter. It's not going to ruin your fabric. And you've got the middle. So what we're going to do now is find exactly the middle spot on the paper pattern and start stitching. Now I cannot show the whole pattern on the video because that would be wrong to do. And all I did was I found the middle of the design. As I was saying, we found the middle of the paper pattern, okay? And the first symbol, which I already marked with a pen, is showing me that it's that symbol that looks like an S. Let me zoom in. That's the exact middle. And it seems like I have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches to work. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I thought that this pattern had only blended and full crosses as stitches, but I'm clearly wrong because you can see that in one box you have 2 stitches here, which means half of it is going to be in one color and the other half is going to be another color. I haven't had a pattern like this in ages, actually. This clearly is an old pattern, but I know that there are some designers that do this. I'm not a fan of that when it happens, but it only happens when you're changing over to another color and another shape on the pattern. That doesn't matter. We're going to work on the full stitches to start our design. So as indicated there, we're looking for the letter S, which is there, and that's a full cross stitch. It's a normal full cross stitch. So first what we're going to do is we're going to grab our needle, which is here, but I know I'm not gonna lose the position because it's very much well shown there. And what you can do to pull just one strand is very easy. You just find one strand like that and you just pull it and it will not tangle, don't worry. That's it, see? It just came off. As easy as ABC. There you go. We're going to start with the loop system here. So if you haven't watched my tutorial on that, you can see me doing it here. Let me make sure I'm in focus so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm threading the needle. You always so you fold that one thread, right? And the long piece of thread is the folded piece. I'm out of focus. I'm sorry, I was talking and I wasn't showing. There it is. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see. And zoom back in so that I can start stitching. And as indicated in the chart, we have 4 stitches going horizontal from the middle. Now, I'm going to fold this bit over here so that I can crunch it up. It doesn't matter because I will iron this when the project is ready. Okay, there we are. And I stitch mostly in hand, so let me do this stitch and I will explain something later. So this is the loop start, okay? You just put your needle through the loop, like so, and then you go back down right exactly from the point you came up. You give it a little bit of a tuck and that's it. That is so simple. So it did say that we have 4 stitches, and that's what we're going to do. We're moving 4 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I'm using the Danish method, which means I do the half cross stitch and then I go back and finish and do the full crosses like so. And as you can see, I'm using the sewing method. That is my cross stitching style. What does that mean? So, and there's your first 4 stitches done. So what that means is that I do not use a hoop. I don't use a hoop to put my work in, simply because I find it faster and I enjoy the sewing method. It feels like it's one movement, and I like that, because I go from, when I stitch, I usually go from the right top corner of the square to the left bottom corner of that square in one go, which means I'm doing one movement instead of 2. So that's technically shortening your time by half. And basically that is it. That's all you need to know. So what I do after I finish those, let me zoom in, after I finish those first 4 stitches, which are shown here, there they are, I shall simply mark them off there, because I've done those, and then I'll go down and continue stitching as usual and change color when I change the symbol. That's it. That's as easy as that can be. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave me a comment in the description. Not in the, sorry, that's a lapsus. Leave me a comment down below, any difficulties you might have. I have also my email listed down, so you can send me an email and I will clarify anything that is not clear. But I am very confident that if you follow this step by step, you will be able to start cross-stitching your kitted cross-stitch kit immediately. That's all I have for you today. I hope you found this tutorial useful, and until the next one, bye bye.